Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome. So, on this very, very auspicious day of the disappearance day of three great personalities very dear to all of our hearts, our acharyas, it's the disappearance day of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. So I'm very honored that I've been asked to speak on this auspicious day. They've given me a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:24-17. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Let's take the verse here. You can open it up to me. 10:24-17.
Up and down, 24:16.
17, no? 16?
The 17.
There's 18,000 verses, so it's well to find it. Deham Uchavachan Jantu Prapyoti Jati Karmana Satvur Mitram Udashina Karmaiva Gurur Ishvara Dehan Uchavachan Jantu Prapyostri Jati Karmana Satvur Mitram Udashina Karmaiva Guru Ishvara Dehan Uchavachan Jantu Prapyastri Jati Karmana Satvur Mitram Udashina Karmaiva Guru Ishvara Dehan Uchavachan Jantu Prapyastri Jati Karmana Kurmitam Udasina Karmaiva Guru Ishvara Material bodies, Avachan, high and low class, Jantu, conditioned living entity, Prapya, obtaining, Uchjati, gives up, Karmana, by the reactions of his material activity, Shatru, his enemy. Mitram, friend. Udashina, the neutral party. Karma, material work. Eva, alone. Guru, the spiritual master. Ishvara, his Lord. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada with the purport by his disciples. Because it is karma that causes the conditioned living entity to accept and then give up different high and low grade material bodies, this karma is his enemy, friend, and neutral witness, his spiritual master and controlling Lord. Purport. Even the demigods are bound and limited by the laws of karma. That Indra himself is subordinate to the laws of karma is explicitly stated in the Brahma Samhita. Yastu Indra Gopam Ata Vendra Maho Shvakama Banda Nirupa Phala Bhajanam Atamuti. The Supreme Lord Govinda awards all creatures the appropriate results of their work. This is true for mighty Indra, the Lord of the material heavens, as it is for the germ, Indragopa. The Bhagavad Gita 7.20 also states, Kamaishtai Tyre Kritajana Kapadyante Nyam Devataha. Only those who have lost their intelligence because of various material desires surrender unto demigods rather than worship the Supreme Lord. In fact, the demigods cannot award benefits to anyone independently, as stated by Lord Krishna in the Gita. Mayaiva hitam hitam. All benefits are ultimately issued by the Lord Himself. Thus, it is not altogether incorrect to say that demigod worship is useless, since even the demigods are under the laws of karma. In fact, this is the case. But Lord Krishna, the Supreme Absolute Truth, is not subordinate to laws of karma. Rather, He can independently offer or withhold His favor. This is confirmed in the verse from Brahma Samhita quoted above, the third line of which is Karmani Virdahati Kintu Cha Bhaktivajam. The Supreme Lord burns up all the accumulated karma of those engaged in His loving service. Not only is Lord Krishna above the laws of material action and reaction, but He can immediately dissolve these laws for anyone who satisfies Him through loving service. Thus the Almighty God is supreme in absolute freedom, and by surrender to Him, we can escape the bonds of karma and stop accepting their dismal rule as supreme. Omagyantimirandasya ginanganashalakaya chaksumintam jinatasmai Sri Chaitanya Vishnu Shavitam Jirabhutale Shvayambhu Kadam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasana Hare Krishna 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 Hare Manta Kalpa Turubhyascha Krita Sindhu Vevacha Patitam Pavanebhyo Vaishnava Hare Krishna. So, the subject matter of the verse today, quite simply put, is karma. Karma. Interestingly enough, of all the many hundreds of thousands or more words in the Sanskrit dictionary, Amar Kosh, the word karma probably the most familiar to people in the West. The Vedic literature is very vast, and there's some Sanskrit, and there's hundreds, let's say millions of words. But in Western countries now, mainly due to the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, people are becoming familiar with this literature by Srila Prabhupada's grace through the medium of his books and his representatives. But if there's any word in this Amar Kosh which people are familiar with, it's karma. And Nowadays it's somewhat understood. I remember preaching in the 1970s. People didn't know this word karma. Now they know, and you could say it's somewhat understood. Elegance is truth spoken concisely. In Australia they know karma, they say what goes around comes around. That's a summary. And karma puts to rest the perennial question, that people often ask, why do good things happen to bad people? And why do bad things happen to good people? There's some interest, some understanding. But that being said, the concept of karma actually is very, very deep and extremely difficult to understand. Extremely difficult. But Maharaj, what goes around comes around. For every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. What's the difficulty? No. It's very complex. It's very difficult. Even the most astute minds can hardly comprehend it. How do we know that? Because Krishna says so in the Bhagavad Gita, in 4:17. Gahana kamano gati. Gahana kamano gati. He says, the intricacies of karma are very difficult to understand. Bas. We may think we understand. No. The intricacies of karma are very difficult. And he goes, Kava yap yata mohita. Even the intelligent are bewildered in understanding karma. Nevertheless, it's a subject matter that we have to contend with. We have to grapple with it. It's very difficult to understand, but each and every one of us has to recognize it, and we have to grapple with it because it controls us, our life, from the cradle to the grave. Karma alone is why we suffer in this world, and why we quote-unquote enjoy. It's not really enjoyment, it's another type of suffering, but we'll talk about that later. And not just in this life, but in many lifetimes together. Brahmanda Brahmatikonya Bhagavan Jeev. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are elevated to upper planetary systems, and some are going down, down, down into the lower planetary systems. Repeatedly, over and over and over and over, since time immemorial. In other words, this karma, it stays with us. It's not like last night the mosquitoes were on my arm. Go away. No. It's very difficult to erase this karma. It sits in the heart. The heart's only this big, but it can accommodate billions of sinful reactions. This is the mystery of karma. When the body dies, as we know, the soul moves on, and we're forced to leave everything behind. Family, house, career, money, name, fame, but not your karma. That's the baggage that we take with us, and it builds up. It builds up life after life. Like, unfortunately, we see here in India, I left to go to the European summer for some time, and as I was going out of Vrindavan, I saw, unfortunately, a garbage dump. And when I came back a few weeks ago, it was huge. So karma is like that, it accumulates. And this means, let us be frank, not only bad karma, but good karma. Our life's a mixture of the good, bad, and the ugly. So we do good deeds, and we do bad deeds, and we do really bad deeds. So, we have some good karma as well. So someone can say, well, then it's not so bad. I can tolerate some bad karma, but I get some good karma, I can tolerate. But from the absolute point of view, comparing Dukkalaya Mashashvatam with the spiritual world where every step is a dance, Every word is a song, and there's a festival every day. The flute is the constant companion. From the absolute point of view, good karma is not good. We can speak frankly. We're in, Prabhupada said Bhagavatam classes for the devotees and Bhagavad Gita classes for introducing non-devotees to Krishna consciousness. We'd be very frank here. Hard talk. Dvaiti bhadra bhajana sabha mano dharma ebale mandase sabha manama. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, whose disappearance day we're celebrating today. He writes, quite frankly, because sadhu means that when he speaks, he cuts your material attachments. Don't go to a lecture by a Vaishnava sadhu if you're not prepared to cut your material attachments and in great desperation grab onto the lotus feet of Krishna. So Dvaiti Bhadra Bhadra Sabhamano Dharma E Bala Mandase Sabharma. What is he saying? He's saying that in the material world, conceptions of good and bad, it's all mental speculation. Therefore saying, this is good and this is bad, he said it's a mistake. His summary, it's all bad. Welcome to the material world. I mean, first impressions are the most important, right? So what's our first impression? We come out of the womb. We come into our life. And because we need oxygen in our lungs, doctor takes us by the feet and slaps us on the back side. And we go, welcome to the material world. First impressions are the most important. So, but there's some good? No, he said it's all bad. So how is good karma bad? Well, bad in the sense that good karma, by one's good karma, one obtains a good birth in a pious country, if there's any left. Wealth, you're born beautiful, become famous, etc. But when you get attached to that, you get a sense of comfort. Prabhupada, this is the problem with the mode of goodness, that one has a sense of, things are okay, I'm comfortable. There's no need to take up spiritual life. Atatam Brahma Jignasi, the first verse of Vedanta Sutra. Now that you've come to the human form of life, what's your business? Krishna consciousness. Understand who you are, who is God, and what is your intimate relationship with God. That's the purpose of life. Not eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. That was the mantra, quote unquote, of the gladiators. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. That's become the mood of modern society. So if things are kind of going okay because of your good karma, what's the need to go to the church? You're not suffering. Why go to the temple? Why go to the mosque? So this is the problem with good karma. We don't understand what is the real purpose of life. Struggle for existence, the human race. The only hope is divine grace. So Narottam Das Thakur, our hero, Narottam Srinivasan Shamananda. Shonshara Bishanale Divanishi Hiya Dwale Judhaite Na Kainu Upaya. This boy knows the verse. He says, my heart is always burning in the fire of material existence, and I have made no provisions for getting out. I remain here trying to enjoy this holocaust. I remember from the early years as, here I am trying to enjoy myself in a holocaust. We won't go into detail. We know this word. It's very powerful, very potent from World War II. Holocaust. So an intelligent man or woman, they'll inquire how to get out of this blazing fire of material existence. And if they're fortunate enough to come in contact with this movement, above all, this International Society for Krishna Consciousness. If they're fortunate to come in contact with this movement, they'll find their way out, because this movement will introduce you to Krishna. Yad anud yashina yukta karma granti nibandhanam chindanti kovidastasya kona koryat katartin. This is on the tongue of all of my godbrothers here, especially Vaisheshika Prabhu, Lokawala. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma. We're finding the positive alternative now by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who would not pay attention to his message? And if people are not so fortunate to, come to the temple or go to the restaurant or search us out, the mood of this movement is we will go to them. This is Vaishnava. We will go to them. If Muhammad does not go to the mountain will come to Muhammad. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is his prophet. Fine. So if Muhammad doesn't go to the mountain goes to Muhammad. So if the people don't come to us, Prabhupada said the temples are bases for preaching Krishna consciousness. We go out, and through Sankirtan, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtan Ki, book distribution, Harinam, festivals, restaurants, we'll come to them with great pleasure. This is our real pleasure. And this phenomena of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and its founder, Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, this was predicted 500 years ago by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Prabhus, we are part of a prophecy. We're part of a prediction. We are the prediction. We have no qualification other than Prabhupada's causeless mercy. Like he said one time in a humorous way, here in Vrindavan I heard him say, just as Ram conquered Lanka with monkeys and bears, so I am conquering the world with my disciples. We're part of this prediction, this following prediction. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he made this prediction in his Shushloka Shatakam. His Shushloka Shatakam. I found this book in the Vrindavan Research Institute. Text 62, it's one of my favorite verses. Every devotee who knows verses, they have their favorite verses. What are the favorite verses of Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada? Pajavali. It's a collection of those verses which he held very near and dear. And therefore we also hold Pajavali very near and dear. So this is one of my, my humble self, this was one of my favorite all-time verses. Tilaka vimala mala namok yukta pavitra hari hari kalai maidye evam evam bhuvava. From the moment that the holy name of Hari appeared on the earth, Vaishnavas became manifest everywhere. Adorned with faultless tilak and neck beads, and equipped with the Maha Mantra, in the midst of the age of Kali, they purified the atmosphere, chanting Hari Hari. Indeed, so indeed, it came to pass. Srila Prabhupada ki, worldwide ISKCON ki. So indeed, it came to pass. It was meant to happen. A great challenge. So when you have a great challenge, you take your best man to lead the forces. So Prabhupada is the Lord's chosen son who brought this movement to the West. So again, as we were explaining, but Bhagavatam was explaining, the way to destroy this karma, this lingering on in our hearts is Yad Anud Yasnina Yukta Karma Granti Nibandhanam. With sword in hand, intelligent man cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the Lord. How do we remember the Lord? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, and by studying Vedic scriptures as presented to us by Srila Prabhupada. And this is in accordance with the verse from Brahma Samhita 554, which is quoted in today's purport. That the Supreme Lord burns up all accumulated karma of those engaged in His loving service. Voila. There's the solution. Perfect questions, perfect answers. How to get free of karma? The Supreme Lord burns up all the accumulated karma of those engaged in His service. And the purport today by Prabhupada's disciple stresses the same. I think it must have been Acharya Dev. He wrote, Lord Krishna can immediately dissolve these laws, karma, for anyone who satisfies them through loving devotional service. So that is the key. It's like if the door is locked, you need a key. So this mysterious, difficult to understand, very complex karma, don't worry about it. Just destroy it. Just destroy it. Destroy those nasty seeds of karma that are festering. This is a good word, festering. For many births in our heart. If you get like an infection, you want to take care of it immediately. If you've got pimples, you want to get rid of it immediately. If you've got gallstones. So why aren't we just, with a sense of urgency, trying to get rid of the karma, which for us is an obstacle to pure devotion to Radhesham? This is our selfish desires. So it's festering. Don't let it fester. Like sometimes we hear that phrase, festering wound. When I was in the Amazon jungle many years ago on a preaching mission, as we were floating down the Amazon River, I inadvertently cut my arm, a big cut here, on a nail on the boat, rusty nail. And because we didn't have any proper medicine, we're a bit naive, we didn't have any medicine, it started festering over time. It got like pus in different colors, and one day I woke up, there were worms there from the jungle. So I went to a shaman in one of the villages in the jungle. He immediately took a knife without me even noticing. Ah! And all this festering wound came out. And he took some leaves, some kind of plant, herbal plant from the jungle, squished it and put it in there and wrapped it up. 5 days it was gone. Krishna says in the Gita, he's the healing herb. No antibiotics. Just nature's cure. So I use this word festering with some realization. So karma's festering in our hearts. But Lord Krishna can immediately dissolve these laws of karma for anyone who satisfies them through the process of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani Vedanam. There's 9 processes. Pick 1 or 2 or 3 or all, and gradually, Cheto, Darpanam, Arjam. The karma goes, the material desires go, and what's underneath is very nice. Underneath is very nice. That's the seed of bhakti, the bhakti lata bij. And in that now fertile ground, without any weeds, that bhakti lata bij can grow and mature very nicely. So how does Krishna do this? How does he deliver us this golden opportunity of seva, of service to his lotus feet, by which the heart becomes purified? Well, unless he's on the earth, like he was 5,000 years ago, or as recently in cosmic time, 500 years ago, and one is fortunate enough to meet him, because the Lord was surrounded by his associates in the spiritual world. The gopis took male forms and assisted him in various ways in the Sankirtan movement. But it also, Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy was that the common man could come in contact with him. Not only the common man, but the sinful man like Jagai and Madhai, they could also approach the Lord. Momaha Badanaya Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Go. Sri Rupa Goswami, who's Rupa Manjari in the spiritual world, when he first saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it was in Ramkeli. He was there with Sanatan Goswami, serving the Nawab Hussain Shah. They're forced into service. Mahaprabhu was on his way to Vrindavan. He took a detour like this to see his eternal associates. And when Mahaprabhu came into the village, some distance away, Rupa Goswami was doing his job there. And around the corner through the jungle appeared Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's very effulgent, 7 feet tall, effulgent, beautiful, full of prem. And immediately when he saw him, he realized who he was. And this verse came from the lotus mouth of Rupa Goswami. Who is this person, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He's the most munificent incarnation of the Lord ever. Why? Because he's giving the simple process of chanting Hare Krishna to who? The most fallen. And what is the result? Braj Prem. This is impossible to understand and calculate. Braj Prem is the highest, Padam Gatim, he's giving it to the lowest. This is Mahaprabhu. So if he's on the earth, hey, run and find him. But if we're not so fortunate, we're not fortunate, we weren't there. If we were there, we wouldn't be here today. So the Lord works in mysterious ways, because Prabhupada said one time in Geneva, I was there, he said, the Lord wants us to come back to the spiritual world more than we want to go back. So his ways are mysterious to guide us to his lotus feet. So he appears in other ways. When he's not personally present, he makes himself present. Kali Kali Nam Rupa Krishna Avatar. In the age of Kali, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Simply by chanting this holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. Anyone who does this is certainly delivered. Another way is that the Lord arranges for us to take up devotional service as the super soul within our hearts. When he sees our eagerness, our desperation for spiritual life, he arranges that we come in contact with the spiritual institution. Like ISKCON. He arranges that. Your coming in contact with this movement was not based on your karma, it was based on Kripa mercy. Brahmanda Mamatikanya Bhaktivanji, Guru Krishna Prasad Pai Bhaktivanji. The Lord and his representatives, they intervene. Stop your nonsense. Here is Krishna, take him, Prabhupada said. They intervene. We have no qualification, but out of their compassion, they just stop. Who are you? Stop. Chant Hare Krishna. Like that. And the third way, there's many ways, but another way that Lord mysteriously gets us to take up devotional service is when he puts us in touch with his representative, spiritual master. I remember the Vyasa Puja offering of one of Shivaram Swami's disciples, Gaurangi Dasi. It really touched my heart. She wrote in her offering some years ago, Guru Maharaj, it took you so long to find me. Please never kick me away. Oh, that resonates, right? Generally we think of the disciple as searching for the spiritual master. But in the age of Kali, the spiritual master goes searching for the disciple. So Guru Maharaj, it took you so long to find me, please never kick me away. But in all these cases that I've mentioned, how the Lord acts mysteriously to bring us to his lotus feet, we must show our desperate need to be freed from this festering karma and material desires. We have to show the Lord. As Madhava Prabhu is always saying, we have to chant from the heart. Our service must be done with some feeling. If we don't have prema, at least we can have appreciation. That'll turn into affection, and that'll turn into love. We have to pray like Rupa Goswami. We have to really want to get out of here. We have to pray like Rupa Goswami prays in Padyavali, text 60. I am drowning. in the painful, fathomless whirlpool of birth and death. O Lord, O friend of those who have no shelter. O friend of those who have no shelter. O effulgent moon of mercy, please, just this one time, extend your hand to save me. So does that mean that we see this long arm of, Purusha Shukta coming into... No. It's just poetry. Poetry brings forth certain emotions. What is the use of the hunter's arrow unless it pierces the heart? What is the use of poetry unless it pierces the heart and awakens spiritual emotions? That's real poetry. So just this one time, extend your hand to save me. So what is that? That's the spiritual master. So when such a spiritual master appears in our life, for all practical purposes, this dilemma of karma, it's resolved. Because the spiritual master is so kind that he absorbs the karma of his disciples. So at least that obstacle to spiritual life is removed. A little more serious is the material desires. But it's good to have that festering wound cleaned up. Took me 1 week. At the moment of initiation, in 1 minute, Prabhupada said, clean slate. So how can we ever repay the spiritual master? And Srila Prabhupada said that it is for this reason that sometimes the spiritual master becomes ill. Or at the very least, sometimes he has to have a bad dream. Srimad Bhagavatam 8.4.15. I'll recite. I wrote it down because it's important. A devotee sometimes accepts a sinful person as his disciple, and to counteract the sinful reactions he accepts from the disciple, he has to see a bad dream. Nonetheless, the spiritual master is so kind that in spite of having bad dreams, due to the sinful disciple, he accepts this troublesome business for the deliverance of the victims of Kali Yuga. After initiation, therefore, disciples should be extremely careful not to commit again any sinful act that might cause difficulties for himself and the spiritual master. So, we're meant to always be questioning. Questions on my mind. It's an old song in ISKCON. So, how does the spiritual master deal with the karma of 10 disciples? Or 20 disciples? Or 1,000 disciples? Prabhupada told Srila Jayapataka Maharaj to accept 50,000 disciples. Hey, we're talking about the festering karma within our heart. What if you accept the karma of 50,000 disciples? Like, how does this work? We would think this means that the guru is going to be sick all the time. How does he deal with it? He does so through the medium of chanting the holy names. Tasmat Sankirtanam Vishnur Jagan Mangalam Amhasham Mahatam Mapikoravya Vid Yakanti Istutanam. My dear King, I love this verse. The chanting of the holy names of the Lord are able to uproot even the reactions of the greatest sins. Therefore, the chanting of the Sankirtan movement is the most auspicious activity in the universe. Please try to understand it so that others will take it seriously. Or, Eka Hari Nam Yata Papa Hari Mukhi Bolo Hari Hari. One recitation of the Hare Krishna mantra is so powerful that all sinful reactions run to a distant place. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, So, in our ISKCON movement, we have, written what are the qualifications for a guru, what are the qualifications for a disciple. It's all written. But one very obvious qualification of the spiritual master is he must have unflinching faith in the holy names of the Lord. Prabhupada told me one time in London, preach boldly and have faith in the holy names. That's like etched in my heart. preach boldly and have faith in the holy names. I'm still trying. I'll be very honest with you. I'm still aspiring to fulfill that instruction. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written, Namakari Bahir Haya, Nama Nahi Haya. Merely reciting the external syllables of the holy name does not mean that one's actually chanting the holy name. So therefore the spiritual master, he has to become a faithful chanter of Krishna's holy name. He must have faith. Namno hi yavati shakti papanira ne hare. Avat kartumna shoknati atakam pataki nara. This is the word. Simply by chanting the holy names of Hari, a sinful person can counteract the reactions of more sins than he's able to commit. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam. Kalo nasteva, 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 gatiram. So this is the gift of the spiritual master, which we officially receive. You have to be initiated into it, into the chanting of the holy names at the time of initiation. If you chant Hare Krishna, you can get free of karma, you can get free of material desires. But to get prem, our real goal in life, that you have to be initiated into the mantra by a bona fide spiritual master. So we should be very eager for initiation. We should be like a burning desire. Durlabe sad guru namcha sadkat sangha upashtite tad anujsa yada labda sadikshasa varo mahan. Another one of my favorites. If by chance or good fortune one gets a guru, it doesn't matter whether one is in the temple or the forest. If the spiritual master agrees, one should take initiation immediately, without waiting for a suitable time or place. Of course, there's a price you have to pay for that diksha. You have to give up dhanam, chanam, and sundarim. At least desire to give up wealth, attachment to material wealth, inappropriate association with the opposite sex, and the desire to become famous, a big devotee. One time, a disciple asked Prabhupada, or he said to Srila Prabhupada, I'm being very honest with you, what if I don't have the desire to give up sense gratification? That's honesty, that's being straightforward. He said to Prabhupada, what if I don't have this desire? So Prabhupada smiled and said, then just desire to give up sense gratification. At least that has to be there. One time a disciple came to his guru, he said, Guruji, I can't give up Maya. So the guru said, why is that? The disciple said, well, I have a good excuse. Maya won't let go of me. So the guru became very grave. And he said, then come back to see me tomorrow morning over there under that fig tree. And the disciple was like, what's going on? So the next morning the disciple arrived at the meeting place and he saw his guru was hugging the tree, the fig tree. So he said, Guru Maharaj, why are you hugging the tree? So the guru replied, I'm not hugging the tree's hugging me. So the disciple said, Guru Maharaj, with all my humility, that's ridiculous. The tree's not hugging you, you're hugging the tree. Just let go. So at that point the guru spun around and he said, yes, in the same way, Maya is not holding on to you, you're holding on to Maya, let go. So, we had to be prepared to give up sense gratification, and old habits die hard. The very thought of giving up all that is near and dear to us sometimes it can be horrifying. Let's just be honest. One time Prabhupada shared that several times after the departure of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati appeared to Prabhupada in his dreams. He was a householder. And Prabhupada said he was beckoning me, take sannyas, take sannyas. And Prabhupada said, I was horrified. He said, his English is horrified. I was horrified. Of course, Prabhupada was Abhay Charan. He had no fear, having taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. But this was his pastime to teach us how difficult it is to give up the world. And if one can do it, he'll be blessed to make further progress. When the famous personality, Devadatta, took a vow, I will not marry in this lifetime. I will remain celibate. The demigods called out, Bhishma! 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 How horrible. Like we want a nice spiritual name from our guru. Bhishma means horrible. How horrible. Because for materialistic people, with all due respect to the demigods, who are their devotions mixed, giving up sex life is like going to hell. But if one experiences the higher taste of Krishna consciousness, through the simple method introduced by Mahaprabhu, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for such sense objects remains, but ceasing such engagements by experiencing higher taste, he's fixed in Krishna consciousness. So one should ask for initiation when they're convinced of the futility of sense gratification, ready to sacrifice it, the higher taste of devotional service. Once there was another aspiring disciple, not the same fellow, who wasn't so serious about spiritual life, to follow all the rules and regulations. So, nevertheless, he approached the spiritual master and said, Guruji, I think I'm kind of ready for initiation. I mean, it's a pretty good chance. I'll follow the rules. I mean, I think I want to be initiated. So the Guru said, follow me down to the river. Oh, okay. Went down to the river, and they went waist deep. And then the Guru took the sika of the disciple and plunged it into the river water. You can last 4 minutes and 37 seconds without air. So at 4 minutes and 35 seconds, he pulled his head out. He said, how much did you want air? Oh, Guru, I wanted air like life itself. The Guru said, when you want initiation with the same intensity, then you come and see me. And if one is serious, he takes up the process, it's absolutely 100% certain that a transformation will take place. Ita kasya natam yati. Kamsham rasa vidanaha tata diksha vidanena dvijatam jayate nunam. I love that verse. As bell metal can be turned into gold when treated with mercury, a disciple initiated by a bona fide guru immediately attains the position of a Brahmin. And from that you can go to Suddha Sattva transcendence. Of course, taking initiation to the chanting of the holy names again, it's not just about getting free from karma. It's more about getting free of material desires and then again awakening our love for Radha Shyam. And altogether that may sound like a challenge. Whoa, that festering wound and those unlimited nasty desires. I heard Prabhupada say one time in Rome, he was talking to one of my godbrothers, he said, if I showed you how many material desires you have in your heart, you'd faint. And hearing that godbrother almost fainted. He sat down actually. So that's all of us actually. So it's a challenge. Get rid of the festering wound. Get rid of the material desires. Somehow awaken prema. It's a great challenge. Pancha Gauda gave me 10 minutes more, so bear with me. It's a challenge. Even now, as many devotees in my generation are living in the twilight of our years. I just asked Chaturapma, my bosom buddy, how old are you? He said 70. Wait a minute, I think of him as 55 or 60, I'm 73, going on 74. You're like, what? It's true, birth, disease, old age. So many devotees in my generation were living in the twilight of our years, and we actually wonder, this is a huge challenge, what hope is there for us? The goal, as I've said many times, is Amala Bhakti, pure devotion for Radha Shyama Sundar. But many of us, as yet, especially myself, we haven't shed a tear while chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 53 years, and I haven't shed a tear. Shame on me. But I feel there's hope. There's genuine hope. And what is the hope? My spiritual master. For all of us, Srila Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Mahaprabhu is the most merciful incarnation of the Lord, and all of us members of ISKCON, we have the right to say that Srila Prabhupada is Lord Chaitanya's most merciful representative. If we tried to practice Krishna consciousness as it was done 500 years ago in Jagannath Puri with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we couldn't do it. The ladies couldn't come within 100 yards of Mahaprabhu. He would sleep on the ground. We couldn't do. So Prabhupada, so expert, so innovative in his ways, that he adjusted everything so that anyone and everyone can take up the process. So he's our deliverer. It's by his mercy that one day we will be delivered from material existence to the kingdom of God. We may be who we are, we may feel feeble in our attempts to really represent Prabhupada and carry on his mission as quickly as possible as he wanted it. But if we try our best, and throughout our whole lives, because these men sitting here, they gave their youth to Prabhupada, they gave their middle age to Prabhupada, and now they're giving their old age to Prabhupada. This is something we could admire in this first generation. Youth, middle age, and just that enough. That's something. But we have to stick to the straight and narrow. And, as many speakers are saying, I was so impressed the other day with the lecture of Kadamba Kanana Maharaj. We have to share our good fortune with the people of the world. Who else will do it? And if we do that, Prabhupada will deliver us. For he has written that he will take responsibility for our deliverance. We can't abuse that, but he has said, if we serve him, meaning that we're serving Krishna, because that's the connection, he will take responsibility. Just serve as best you can. Be a good devotee and share a good fortune with others. This is the essence of ISKCON. Prabhupada wanted us to become pure devotees. And how to do that? By sharing a good fortune. Take some service in the Sankirtan movement. And then Prabhupada will take responsibility. You don't have to worry about being delivered. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we hear Narada Muni say to the hunter, Migrari, Yadi Dara Amara Bhachana, Tabe se Kariti Pare Tumara Mochana. My dear hunter, if you follow my instructions, I shall find a way that you shall be delivered. He's a hunter. Atmahana, killer of the soul, killing animals, killing the soul's chances for self-realization. And Migrari, and then Narada says, if you follow these instructions, stop that, sit there, chant Hare Krishna, I shall find a way. We are trying our best, but really we make progress by blessings. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport to that essential verse, this is the secret of success. If one has unflinching faith in Krishna and the spiritual master, the result is that all the conclusions of the revealed scriptures will be open to such a person. A pure devotee of Krishna can make the same demands that Narada Muni is making. If you follow my instructions, Prabhupada said, I shall take responsibility for your liberation. Srila Prabhupada, just like one time Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he was not complaining, but he was revealing his mind to Srila Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, here I am in Vrindavan, the birthplace and the land of Krishna, I'm not going on any parikramas. I'm not going to Raman Reddy. I'm not seeing Radha Gokulananda. I'm not going to Varshana. I don't even bathe in the Jamuna. I'm just sitting here in this construction zone with the bricks around me and the dust and the heat, making sure the materials are of good quality, making sure we don't get cheated. I'm busy with bank transfers. How am I going to make it back to Godhead? So Prabhupada said, that's okay. You just keep working like this. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur will incarnate in your mind at the moment of death to take you back home, back to Godhead. Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki. So in conclusion, be strict, straight and narrow, follow the rules, regulations. Chant Hare Krishna. Another instruction Prabhupada says, cooperate together because many hands make small work. And have this burning desire, because, the burning desire is to get rid of the festering wound. It's gone. It's gone. So now what? Show the same compassion for others. This is the real heart that's been cleansed, the heart of a Vaishnava. That's all. In his purports to Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Srila Bhaktisharan Saraswati Thakur, he writes, so important. In the teachings of Sriman Mahaprabhu, there are only two principal instructions. Develop a taste for chanting the holy names and display compassion for fallen souls. Isn't that wonderful? In the teachings of Sriman Mahaprabhu, there's only two principal instructions. Develop a taste, get some ruchi, chant attentively, all the syllables, focus from the heart. And then go out and preach, or support the preaching, or make bead bags for the Sankirtan devotees, or raise children to become generals in the Sankirtan movement. But the mothers stay home, they're always inside, they're cooking diapers. They're raising those boys and those girls to take over from where we left off. We must honor those mothers. So if we do that, surely Srila Prabhupada will be kind upon us, and we will meet him in the spiritual sky. As it's all so wonderful to be here, serving together under his guidance, it will be wonderful to be together there as we assist him in his service to Gaurnitai, Krishna Balaram, and Radhashama Sundar. I'll conclude with something that my very dear godbrother Dhananjaya Prabhu, who did so much seva here at the Krishna Balaram Mandir to make it what it is today. He's in England, and he's not well at this point, but I went to see him, and he shared something that just, I was going to say touched my heart, but it melted my heart. And I'll finish with this. Prabhupada told him in a moment of intimacy in Rome, 1974, when we get back to the spiritual world, we will all recognize each other. Wow. I love that. When we get back to the spiritual world, we'll all recognize each other. And Prabhupada said, you'll recognize me too. But I won't be like this, an old man. I'll be a young boy eternally. Shri Bhagavad ki, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yajna ki, Jai Gauda Premanandi, Jai Jai Sri Radhe.